morning, this is Ryan from blazingwonders.com. We're super excited today to be installing our floor system from AVC Rig. If you are building a Ford Transit and are wondering about the flooring and about filling in the gaps between all of the ridges and valleys in the floor of the van, this is a great system. Basically, it's a structural insulated panel that they have CNC cut to match the depth and the width of the ridges in the floor of the van. So this basically just drops in and provides the insulation. There's also, as you can see, it's a structural insulated panel. Underneath, there's a vapor barrier. The polyurethane foam is glued to what looks like OSB, and then there's a weather barrier on the bottom. This is the back. You can see where the cutouts for the wheel wells are. They've cut a channel here to allow running wiring underneath the floor system. And I'm going to be taking basically, a set of wires from one side to the other through these holes. I'm going to be using 3M90. Estimating it's going to be about 4 or 5 cans to be able to do the job. All right, next up we'll prepare the floor, get it all nice and clean, and then start gluing this down. A couple of problems fitting in the floor system. I don't think it's the fault of AVC Rig, but I do think there's a little bit of variability when it comes to the length of these vans. And so in the back of the van, what we found was that we had too much overhang, even pushing everything as far forward as we could. We ended up trying to trim the front pieces and then really ended up with needing to trim this back piece. And so we ended up having to take a little over an inch off of the back, and we did that by using the trim piece, measuring an 1.25 inches over, and then just running a jigsaw along here. One of the other things that you should really think about before you glue anything down is make sure that you're looking at your trim pieces and how they fit with the floor system. We have the electrical sliding door, power door, and one of the things we found we have to be really careful. There's a wiring harness that comes up here. You have to be really careful about those tolerances in terms of how far you have this floor positioned. And of course you want to be able to get this far forward, but you also don't want it so far forward that it's not sitting correctly on the front part of the van. So not a lot of room for error. So before you start gluing anything down, make sure everything fits, dry fit everything, and be prepared. You may need to trim a little bit. But what we found is we probably should have just trimmed the back piece. I started off with trimming some of these front pieces to allow this to slide forward. But then what we found was that we were too far forward and we could not get this side step piece in. And so then we had to slide everything back and then take the additional tolerance off the back. All right, so we've had to make another modification to the board, and not sure if this is something that was new for 2021 for Ford Transit or just an issue in the CNC routing of the XPS that's on the back of the polyurethane foam that's on the back here. Yeah, she's going to move the board so you can see. Because the issue here is this little dog leg that you see with the ridge, and so it wasn't allowing this board to sit down, flat. So we basically had to route out, not so prettily, but it'll be effective. Yeah. The space for this dog leg on the ridge.